The Transformers franchise has been something I have loved for a long time. We have had a lot of duds in this franchise, of course, but ever since I saw that first Transformers film, I have been a massive fan. Then, as time went on, we kept getting disappointed entries that seemingly went nowhere. Ever since they decided to reboot the franchise, starting with Bumblebee, I have been cautiously optimistic about the series. Well, Transformers 1 just released, and it's fantastic. A film that is so good, it makes you question if this is even in the same franchise. Focusing on the story of Optimus Prime and Megatron and seeing how their friendship starts to fall apart. Showing us a deeper look into the franchise and the world of Cybertron. The animation here is just gorgeous. Amazing work from the voice actors. The characters are just so well handled, and a gripping story. Transformers 1 is everything I wanted it to be and so much more. So enough rambling, let's begin. I never thought I would ever say this is the best Transformers film. I remember seeing that first trailer and thinking this was gonna suck. How wrong I was, and I'm so happy I was wrong. This is a rare occasion for this franchise where I don't have a lot of problems, because this film has told a story I have wanted to see for years. The backstory of Optimus Prime and Megatron. The story has always been something I have always been interested in, and these creatives behind it wanted to tell it as well. And the best format to tell this story was easily animation. The medium of animation is a way to tell a story that can't be done in live action. As cool as it would be to see something like this in live action, it would have cost so much money and it wouldn't be profitable. So doing this story in animation was the right move, and the animation here is just stunning. I was lost with how great the animation looked. Now, I wouldn't say it's like to the level of, say, Into the Spider-Verse, but it is still fantastic. Now, I will say it does take a while to get used to the Autobots' faces, but as time went on, I got used to it, and it didn't become a problem. It just looks so different from any animation I have ever seen, and I applaud them for that, because it just looks that great. When we see the Transformers go out into the world of Cybertron, when Optimus, Megatron, Alita, and Bumblebee were on the train looking out into the world, I was just lost in the animation. Enough about the animation, let's talk about the voice actors, which was something that had me a bit worried, if I'm being honest. Like, let's just be real, when we heard Chris Hemsworth was going to be the voice of Optimus Prime, I think we were all a bit confused. Peter Cullen has done an incredible job voicing Optimus. He is easily the definitive voice, so Chris had some big shoes to fill. Now, it does make sense why they went with him. This is a younger Optimus Prime, so it does make sense why it wasn't Peter Cullen. But I was a bit scared I would hear Chris Hemsworth being Chris Hemsworth and not Optimus Prime. So many movies nowadays just cast celebrity voices to draw interest in their movies, and it does work, so I get why they do it. But here, I didn't hear Chris Hemsworth. I just heard Optimus Prime, and he did a really good job, and I was genuinely surprised. Also, Brian Tyree Henry and Scarlett Johansson also did a great job with their characters, especially Brian Tyree Henry. Now, this isn't a spoiler because it's common knowledge, but when we get to the point where he starts to become Megatron and become this evil person, you just feel this certain energy with him. I will say the only voice actor where it was hard to believe was Keegan-Michael Key as Bumblebee. It was kind of hard buying into that, but he still did a pretty solid job, so it's more of like a minor nitpick. But when it comes to the story itself, I thought it was done so well. As entertaining as the past Transformers film were at times, it was less about the story and characters. Instead, it was more for the explosions, the product placement, and decisions that made you wonder how they got greenlit in the first place. Here, though, it is just the story about Optimus and Megatron and how they became mortal enemies. One of my favorite tropes in movies is the friends to enemies one. I remember seeing something a long time ago that says, "We were once allies, but that time is long gone, my friend, and that's the whole trope. It is such an underrated trope, and I love to see it. Take Darth Vader and Obi-Wan as an example. Here we see Optimus Prime and Megatron start out as friends, but as time goes on, Megatron wants to kill Sentinel Prime. But Optimus wants to tell people the truth, and no harm done. We see the parallels of their relationship and how it inevitably starts to crumble. The whole story is about how these best friends go from friends to enemies, and the film handles that masterfully. Now, if I do want to be a bit critical here, I will say the beginning is pretty slow, but once it kicks in, especially towards the final act. Like, that was a banger. There is also some lore in here that if you are a fan of the Bay films, you may not like it. I noticed some of it when I first saw it, but honestly, I don't really care about that. If the film itself is good, I could care less if the lore isn't right, but that's just me. I do also want to talk about the world building done here because I loved it. We get to see how the Primes were legends, how the city of Iacon is, how the people operate, how it is ruled, and so much more. We see Orion Pax and D16 as miners working for Sentinel Prime, just workers that are a part of this society. And speaking of Sentinel Prime, let's talk about him. He was very intimidating, showing how he controls Iacon and what he did to get where he is. He is a greedy tyrant ruler, and it works so well. And as I was scripting this video, I found out Jon Hamm voiced the character. When he was on screen and talking, I did not hear Jon Hamm. I just saw Sentinel Prime. He did a really great job here. Now, one thing we haven't talked about is the journey. Optimus, Megatron, Alita, and Bumblebee are searching for something that can help the planet. We see Optimus go on a journey, going from a reckless miner to going to become a true leader. As Optimus here is very different from what you would expect, but that's the point, so he can grow into that leader we know and love. Same goes for Megatron. We see him very differently, but as the film progresses, he starts to become more unhinged, and that by the film's climax, he is the character we know. Now, I do have one more negative here, and that's the way they did Megatron's turn, because at times it feels a bit forced. But at the same time, I still think it was executed pretty well. It's more of like a minor nitpick again here, I know. But still, at times it can feel a bit forced, and I can see a lot of complaints around that. Now, this film is getting great reviews, and understandably so. I've seen some people saying this is like the Into the Spider-Verse for the Transformers franchise. I'm not sure if I'm willing to go that far just yet. Recency bias is in the conversation here. I think the best way to describe this film is it is the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem for this series. A new take of these characters for a new audience to enjoy, but also something for old fans of the franchise. After the awful Michael Bay films, it seems like we are finally in a great era of Transformers content. And I, for one, cannot wait to see what's next. But what did you guys think about Transformers 1? Do you love it like me? I would love to hear what you guys think down below in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos, but as always, take care.